All right. Good morning from county soccer fields. We just got done watching the 3A boys state soccer tournament quarterfinals, and what a start to the day. I'm Ben Brackett alongside a crew of folks here. I've got Blake Siebers, my co-host, on the far side there. Blake, what's up?
Good morning, Ben. Great morning, actually.
Great morning indeed. Then we've got Brett Lumberg. Brett is an assistant coach out there at Newton and a good friend of the pod. Also big time in the mini pitch racket. Going to have a Newton mini pitch out there soon enough, right, Brett?
Very much so.
Welcome to the pod.
Thank
Hello.
you.
And then, of course, my buddy Danny Rothert here from Top Student Athlete Recruiting. Nailed it. All right, let's quick
I
run.
would ask Dan how his morning's going, but I think he's had better mornings.
You know, it's been a rough couple days here in county for me.
If anybody finds a single car key at county, let us know, because
I will let you know that I'm going to give credit to referee Tom McCullough. Just drove a key from Dubuque.
Beautiful.
I'm in my car.
I love it. So let's quick just run through the pairings here. We had the 1 seed Des Moines Hoover taking on the 8 seed Indianola. The 4-5 matchup was Norwalk and Marion. Then on the bottom side of the bracket, you had Xavier, the 3 seed, with a little crosstown rivalry against Cedar Rapids, Washington, the 6 seed. And then number 2, Dallas Center Grimes, and number 7, Storm Lake. Let's start at the top of the bracket, Blake, and talk about Des Moines Hoover and Indianola. You watched most of that, didn't you?
I did.
What'd you think?
Atmosphere. Unreal. Hoover brought it. Indianola started, their fans started getting it a little bit. It was great. Probably not your typical 8-1 game, but, I mean, definitely good for a neutral nonetheless.
So it ended 2-1 with a late goal by Indianola to make it 2-1, actually. Hoover probably controls the game, right, Blake?
Yeah, Indianola, though, dangerous on free kicks. They got, I don't think he clearly wasn't around when we saw him play the first game of the year. Alan Martinez, left-footed boy up top for Indianola.
Number 7, yeah.
Was a little bit dangerous, I thought. Gave Hoover some fits at the back. And then number 12, Aiden Keller. I don't know if he's really scored a goal all year, but had 2 great chances. A big, monster, strong boy. Was impressed. But yeah, Hoover not clinical enough in the first half. Started to get frustrated a bit, I think, because I don't know how many games they've gone into a half 0-0 this year, and I think it showed a little bit. But ultimately, Javier Flores, the big man, number 9.
What a player, actually. Like, really good player.
Yeah, probably the best player we've seen.
Yeah, for the first couple days so far.
Yeah.
For sure. Also, I want to give a shout out to the goalkeeper for Indianola, because he made a handful of really good saves and kept them in the game, really for the whole time. The second goal was a deflection, so he was sort of left hung out there. So, it's Noah. I'm not even going to Klesberg, something like that. But good stuff to you, Noah.
Yeah, he's clearly got him sorted, right? I mean, that was not, if you're looking at that, that's not a 1-8 game. That's not a team that had only won 6 games.
No.
Gummy Bears must have worked.
Yeah, Heath Weeks doing a really good job with that program. We'll be excited to see how they build on their first state tournament appearance in the future.
Yeah, I mean, right? The talking point's got to be Hoover now going into the semifinal, going to their pseudo home over at Mediacom on the turf. They play there now, a little more comfort, and the turf grass controversies, I'm sure, are going to come up more and more in the next few days.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting because then they'll play Norwalk, another local team. Norwalk won the 4-5 matchup 2-0, and another squad that, they brought the noise today, didn't they?
Student section was good. I'll give them that. From the
they had the air horn going.
Yeah.
They were chanting for like every corner kick. They would go yes, 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 and then when they won, they did the "I believe we will win." They were doing it. I liked it.
They got scolded, unfortunately, which
for the air horn.
No swear words. Like, let the kids have fun. And they got to rib the other team a little bit, right? Like, it happens in football. It happens in basketball. Like, let it happen at soccer as long as they're being, not swearing. Let them chirp. I love it.
Fair enough. Well, Dustin Kralik, no surprise, getting his team back to the state tournament, and then through that first round, it'll be interesting to see how they progress here. And it'll be a fun one on Friday if you've got Hoover and Norwalk fans all at the same place. I imagine it'll be a raucous environment. Let's throw it over to you, Danny boy. Xavier and Cedar Rapids, Washington, in the 3-6 matchup.
Yeah.
I didn't even catch a second of that game, so tell me a little bit
I watched
about
the whole
it.
thing. So came out actually pretty slow start. I'd say the first 30, 35 minutes were just. I was looking at a couple coaches, and we were like, "This is kind of everyone's afraid to make a mistake, right?" And so it's pretty plain
Cagey affair.
It's a plain game for a while, and then Wash got 2 really good looks at the end of the first half. I thought, "Oh man, this is going to change the game." They came up blank on both, but kind of set the tone. So I thought second half would come out a little bit different, but actually Xavier got 2 really good looks at the start of the second half, but after that it was all Wash. Wash seemed a little different. My team at Dubuque Senior played them earlier in the year, and they seemed to have a few more guys. I think there was some eligibility issues, so they looked a lot stronger. They had a great goal from number 6, Jacob Klein, the captain. He's a CDM. He had a bomb of a goal. And then another goal about midway through the first half was number 22, sophomore Holden Smith. Great goal, left-footed, smashed it into the corner. I think they're going to be difficult to beat, to be totally honest. I think, I would say their attacking group is solid. I think the defensive line might be, the areas where they might need a little help. But, man, I think they can play with anybody, and they're hot. Look at their last 5 games. They beat Waterloo West, Iowa City High, a really good ADM team, 4-0. Now they beat Xavier, who they lost to earlier in the year. I think Wash is going to be a handful here.
Yeah, and it looks like the losses they had were to 4A squads, it looks like, and they were 1-goal games. So, battle-tested team. Will be interesting to see how they do. But, man, they're going to be up against it, aren't they, Brett?
They are. DCGs. I just watched them, and they seem to be on a different level right now. So I don't listening to what he's saying about Washington. It's going to be that one's going to be a fun one to watch.
Yeah, for sure. Quick, before we start gushing about Dallas Center Grimes, tell me a little bit about Storm Lake. How'd they look? Were they outmatched?
Very much so, yeah. It's kind of the same thing. It was a bit of a slow start. DCG scored early, but then Storm Lake was able to put one in. To me, it just kind of looked like the Storm Lake keeper, the DCG keeper just kind of misjudged one. They took a shot from distance. He kind of went halfway down, wasn't sure if he should go down or stay up, and got caught in the middle. Ball skipped, but somehow bounced at the same time and hit off of his hands and went in. And then after that, it just kind of seemed like it was all DCG. I think it was 3-1 at halftime.
Yep.
I think there could have been maybe a couple more before halftime, but it was 3-1, and
so it ended 7-1.
8-1, I think. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Well, yikes. That's one of the bigger first-round victories we've seen on the boys' side in a few years. So
sounds like 2 teams on it. I mean, they smashed, right? They battered you guys in the sub-state final. Sorry, I mean, but it was
7-0.
7, yeah.
So I mean, Dan's talking about Wash being on a roll. DCG's, I think, finally fully healthy and now clearly on a roll. I think you got 2 great games for the semifinals. I don't want to jump all over it. Curiosity for you guys on your fields. We had boys slipping all over the place.
Yeah.
Was that happen? So it happened at the DCG game. Dan, did you notice anything or not?
Not really.
It was weird. I mean, both teams were. I don't know if they watered it or what, but we're giving peace signs out. So there's a plug for our YouTube channel. I don't know who that is, Dan.
Chris Garcia, perhaps from Luther College.
I love it.
We have his chair, I think, from last year.
Yeah, I think the slipping was mainly in the first half of the DCG game.
Seems like maybe a little dew from the night before kind of situation.
Yeah.
What? So how many of these teams did you play other than Dallas Center Grimes this year, Brett?
How many teams did we play?
Yeah, did you play Hoover?
Norwalk.
Did you play Indianola?
We did not play Hoover. We did play Indianola.
So you got Norwalk and Indianola. How were they? What did you think when you played them? How did they give you guys trouble?
Norwalk, I would say usual suspects. They always seem to be humming. Indianola, that was we only got half of a game with them because of weather. I think the final score was 3-0 at halftime, but they were organized defensively. They did pretty well.
That was what we saw with them against Hoover. I thought that was probably the best way to describe them. Okay, so you think Dallas Center Grimes is like the class of the tournament so far?
I do.
Though, right?
I think Collins just got him humming over there.
Who are the standout players over there?
Tate McDermott, he always seems to stand out. He just kind of commands the field. I think Ben Jackson had a couple of goals, and I think Brogan Fuller had a couple goals as well. Just just worked the ball, and they were able to, what ended up being able to just slot in some fairly easy shots from inside the 18 penalty spot.
It looks like they've got a pretty well-rounded attack. They've got 23 goals from Ben Jackson, 13 from Cy Kurosavi, who I probably said his name wrong. Sorry, Cy. And then Tate McDermott with 12. And you've got a few other guys throwing in, 6, 5, 4 goals there. So a lot of places that the goals can come from.
Yeah, I think Tate he scored 2, and then I think he had at least 2 or 3 assists as well. He had a couple good corner kicks, and he's doing it.
So what do you think, Blake, with Hoover on the turf? Are they going to be is it going to be another level up?
It'd be interesting, right? I hope so. I mean, that's what people are saying. They get on the turf. I mean, they are wrap it out wide, right? And again, that Flores boy.
Man, he's good. And he sits there in midfield and sprays balls wide and lets them.
Gets forward. And
yeah.
I'm impressed. Yeah, it sounds like just from watching one game, but your guys' other reports, I think we got, again, I said it, 2 great semifinals. How are we going to handle that? I don't know. We'll find out.
Well, thanks again to our guys here, Brett Lumberg and Dan Rother. Siebes, let's get back to the action. And what are we on? 2A now, right?
Yeah.
All right. Thanks, guys. And we are back. We just took in some 2A quarterfinal action at the state soccer tournament. I'm Ben Brackett here, alongside my favorite cast of characters. On the far side over there, I've got my boy Danny Rothert from Top Soccer Shoot.
Oh, you done it again.
Top Student Athlete Recruiting. I'm sorry, Danny.
You've done that on purpose.
No, I would never do such a thing. And then next to him, I've got Damian Corriere from the Iowa Soccer Association, and my guy Wes McPhee over here from the Lincoln Boys Squad and also UFA. Hey guys, how you doing today?
Doing amazing. Thanks for having us back. It's amazing to be here.
I love it. It's getting a little toasty. So let's keep things heating up with some talk of the soccer here. You like that?
Oh, that was good.
So we saw number 1, Gilbert, against number 8, Center Point Urbana. Number 4 and 5 were Webster City and Bishop Heelan. On the other side of the bracket, we had number 3, Decorah, against number 6, Perry. And then at the absolute bottom of the bracket, we had number 2, Glenwood, against number 7, Assumption from Davenport. A little bit of we had, say 3 close games. Sorry, let me take that back. 2 close games and 2 not so close games. Is that about, would that be accurate?
If you go by scores, yeah.
Okay, well, let's just go left to right over there. Danny, you watched Assumption and Glenwood. Your Knights, what'd you think?
Yeah, being a Knight grad, it's always good to see them here. I think their experience showed. They're the 7th seed. They played a hard schedule. They play a predominantly 4A, 3A schedule in the MAC conference, so I think that boded well for them too. They came out pretty aggressive. They scored a free kick. It was actually an own goal. It kind of redirected off a guy's head into the back of the net about 3 minutes in, and that's really set the tone for the game. They got another one before half, and then at that point, I think they got 2 more late in the game. Pretty good stuff. It was just a solid performance. They've been here a lot. They've been in championship games the last couple of years. They've been in a great situation that way. I think their experience of being here and their experience of playing tougher teams all year long really showed.
Fair enough. What do you think? This is a team that we usually would see as a 1 seed or a 2 seed maybe. Is that 7 seed a little bit misleading?
Yeah, I think it shows. They lost 5 or 6 games, but they were playing, some top teams. So.
Have you spoken to Coach Chad at all?
Saw him before the game. I haven't talked to him after. So.
Fair enough. I'll be curious to see what he has to say. So let's just sneak back up to the top of the bracket. We're going to talk Decorah and Perry last because that was maybe the most exciting game of them. But Gilbert and Center Point Urbana over there on Field 9. What'd you think, Damo? That's right up in your neck of the woods, Gilbert.
A little bit, yeah. Know a lot of the kids on the Gilbert squad. A little bit of a tale of 2 halves. I felt like Gilbert really was just. I don't want to say they were direct. They were just powerful. I don't think they were being overly direct. I just think the game was that for them, where they could just run through their opposition in the first half. And we're up 2-0, but very well could have been up maybe more.
Gilbert might be one of the most athletic teams here
It's just
overall.
there's athletes all over the place, right? And so and then they've got some players in the mix as well. And I'm not to say they're athletes, they're not players, but they've got some kids that are just athletes. I would say they're not the greatest soccer players in the world. And then they've also got some kids like Jackson Johnson or Tyler Holton or Preston Stensland or Billy Taronis who are, for me, quality soccer players who have been around the game for a long time and play at the club level and have been doing it. So I think they came out really powerful, really strong, really athletic in the first half, up 2-0, and then the game flips on a goal early in the second half, and then Gilbert got rattled. And I'm seeing really good quality players rattled. Their back line was, I'll say it was in shambles for bits and pieces before they were able to right the ship.
Well, and the goal that they gave up was a great example of just like not great defending, right? It was sort of like miscleared, bounces around a little bit, and center pointer Bandit, credit to them, doesn't give up and nicks one there.
Yeah, and it clear. I don't know, obviously, because you don't know what goes on at half times and stuff, and you just never know in what goes on and what plans are. But it definitely seemed like there was a plan in the second half for center point. Urbana, is that the name of the team?
Yes, correct.
Where they
the
were
Stormin' Pointers.
The Stormin' Pointers. Well, they were stay with us.
Hey.
They seemed to want to attack a certain space on the field, so longer diagonals going over the back line, and it just created a bit of confusion within the back line as to who was going to step, who was going to try to win, if the ball went over, who was going to be covering and what. So they got a bit disjointed. It took them a bit to right the ship, and but once they did, it actually came from a build-out phase where they were able to get the ball in. Jackson Johnson checked 2, got the ball swung around a little bit, and they were able to kind of, in that moment, I felt, okay, get back to possession, get back to keeping the ball, and let's see if we could see this game out at 2-1.
It'll be interesting to see if the doctor, Coach Jordison, is able to repeat his squad here as state champions. Before we talk about those chances, I'll talk quick about Webster City and Bishop Heelan. That game was one of those that was over pretty quick. 2 penalties called early on in the game against Webster City, who I must say I was rooting for as a home of a mini pitch. Although I guess Sioux City has a couple as well. But Bishop Heelan really ultimately just ended up being too much for him. They scored a third goal. They were up 3-0 at halftime, and I don't think there was really a fight back from there at all. So it'll be interesting to see how they do against Gilbert. Let's talk about Decorah and Perry. That was definitely the match of the day so far. We got a little double overtime and a shootout. Wes, what'd you think, man?
It was definitely what I thought was the most exciting game as well.
We had a red card.
Yeah, red card early on in the game for Decorah, and they ended up getting their first goal in the game, even though a man down, and holding on until basically towards the end of the second half, where Perry, getting their ball to the creators and being able to play out wide and create some chaos in the box and got one. So went through 2 overtimes.
The overtimes were pretty dead, right?
They were. It
seemed like we were playing for penalties.
Yeah, the commentators were saying, they look tired out there. And, of course, Decorah already a player down, really just trying to hold on to it. Perry didn't really try to do anything as well and went to penalties. And the whole complex was pretty much done with their games. And there was probably 4 times as many people over here watching those PKs. So it was really exciting. So
some talking points from the end of that game there. So one, Dan and I were sitting there chatting, and you mentioned that there wasn't a whole lot going on. It didn't really seem like either team was going for it, right, Dan? There was like no urgency, and you're sitting there thinking, like, Decorah's up 1-0. You're thinking they better have a fire lit under their rear end, and they didn't really seem that way. And Decorah also didn't seem like they really wanted to kill the game off that bad. I don't know. No, that's a.
The one point to me is, I think I would go. If I was coaching that game on the second goal or the goal by Perry, I think the core keeper had his hands on it. I know it's controversial.
He's bringing up the goal.
Well, I'll tell you what. I do think the Decorah keeper had his hands on the ball, but when you have your hands on the ball, you need to hold it.
Yeah.
And then that's your job. The ball's in the box, right on top of the 6-yard line.
So do you think the ref could have blown the whistle?
Too. I think he could have.
He could have. That would have been it definitely would have been a
stirring the
major
pot for
turn
old
point
geezer here.
in the match there. So
I did watch the replay intently. I went back to the replay, and I don't think. I thought he touched it, obviously. He was falling to his right. I don't think he had it. I don't think he was. Yeah, I thought it was a good. I don't want to say it was a non-call, but because that implies there was something there. I just don't think there was anything
If
there.
I would have been the core coach, I would have been up.
Yeah.
Well, I know
that's fair.
you would have.
absolutely. I definitely think that was the right move, not to call it at that point. So.
Well, and so then let's just talk a few more little referee talking points, right? So you've got the red card. My understanding it was first for dissent, yellow card comes off. He's got his little 5-minute cooling down period, and then the player goes back on and then quickly makes a hard challenge and gets the second yellow. Is that right, Wes?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah.
So that's a big turning point in the game. Even if it, ultimately Decorah scores to go up 1-0, even though they're down a man, it's still, I think that becomes a real defining moment of the game because late on they were gassed. And then we go to the shootout. Dan, what do you think about the shootout? What was we were talking about some referee decisions in that, and it's going to be great because we have Evan had mic'd up the referee, so we're going to get a little action on what was said. But what did you think, Dan? You as a referee?
Yeah, I think if you've talked about that and you're saying we're really going to keep an eye on that.
So we had a goalie that stepped off his line a little early. I'm sorry.
Sorry, yeah. The goalie stepped off his line on the first kick of the game, right? The first,
Yeah,
he made the
stuffed him
save,
too.
Made the save, and then they made him retake it because they said he left the line early. I think he left early. I do.
He definitely left early. It's just one of those, it's such a fine line. And then did that happen the rest of the time? Like for the next 9 shots, was that an issue?
Right.
Or now it becomes an issue. So
tone, right? So you got to be, but it's a hard call to make. Like you're standing there on that line and you're trying to decide as an AR if he's leaving early or not.
Well,
I mean, you can't look at the ball. You can't look at both things the same. It's a tough call to make.
Yeah, Wes and I were talking yesterday about just what goalkeepers should do or things that you should think about when you're defending a penalty, and one of them you talked about was stepping behind the line and kind of getting that little step forward.
Yeah, you got to get everything you can to give yourself an advantage, and sometimes you get caught leaving early, and sometimes you time it right. But that's just one of the things on your checklist to give yourself the possibility of saving it.
All right, well, let's talk just overall. We've got Gilbert and then Bishop Heelan on the top side of the bracket, and then Perry against Assumption on the other side. What do we think, guys? Are we going to see I guess if you're asking me, I'm going Gilbert and Assumption in the final. But what do you guys think?
I think it's Gilbert's to lose. Like I said, I mean, they've got some really quality soccer players on the team. And then they've got some kids that, again, have been around the game for a long time and are just athletic and physical, and their mentality, I think, will get the best of most teams. I like them in there. If I were a gambling man, which I'm not, I'd put my money on Gilbert.
Dan?
I haven't seen Gilbert, but I'll just say on the other side of the bracket, go Knights.
Fair. We can respect that here. Wes?
I've coached against Gilbert this season. It was our first game of the year.
Oh, they smoked you guys too.
It was a tough opponent. Let's go with that. And I watched the Perry game. A couple of the boys from Perry play at UFA, so it was nice to see and support them. I don't know anything about Assumption. I know they have a history in the state tournament. So
absolutely.
I'm going to go with Gilbert just because I've seen them. I think they're probably the team to beat. I hope Perry really puts up a fight against Assumption. I just haven't seen him enough to make a determination on that.
Fair enough. Well, that's why we play the game. So we're in for some fun games on Friday. In the meantime, we'll wrap things up. Before I thank my guests over here, quick plug for the YouTube channel if you want to see me fall off the back of the riser. I don't know what minute that would be, but it was pretty slick. So check us out on YouTube.
I'll put it in the comments.
Yeah, okay, good. Perfect. So thanks to Dan Rothert with Top Student Athlete Recruiting. Dan, sadly, this is his last day with us this week, so we'll look forward to seeing you next year. Dan, thanks a lot. Damian Corriere, of course, thank you. We'll see you more. And Weston, same. Thank you again. Good stuff, guys.
All right, I'm standing in here for Ben Brackett, because he's off talking. So we're going to talk about the round of games that just got done. Class 1A state tournament quarterfinals. So first. Let's start from the bottom on up, actually, as I'm looking at the bracket. So we had Regina out of Iowa City played Hudson. Regina was the 2 seed versus 7 seed Hudson, I think. So Dan and Wes, you guys were at that game. Tell us a little bit about what happened.
Yeah, I thought it was pretty. Regina's pretty much in control. They were definitely knocking it around, finding wide spaces, getting in behind, creating some pretty good looks off crosses, things like that. It seemed like Hudson couldn't get into a flow. They were just trying to survive for a while. But they definitely, Regina took care of business, right? They got 2 in the first half, and I think the goals were pretty nice, right? Like the first one was a cross in behind, and the guy tapped it in. The second one, a guy just out-hustled guys, got to the end line, put it away. And Ethan Beard, I think that was his second goal, and then he actually earned a PK later in the game. So Regina was in control the whole time. I don't know if there's much else. What do you think, Weston?
Yeah, I definitely agree. On that Regina's second goal, their smallest player on the field runs through their back line on a ball over the top and just easy finish.
PK too.
Yeah,
he grinded it. He is little, but he got in and caused some problems.
He's great at his role. They played the old 4-4-2, and he was the wiry fast guy. So
yeah, it was good. They're tough. They're going to be a tough out. I think I could see them in the championship game. Coming from this side. Yeah, they're solid all the way around. Good soccer players, obviously from Iowa City, been trained well. So, good stuff.
All right, so final score of that game was
3-0.
3-0 to Regina. Okay, so they're all right, great. And then the North Fayette Valley West Sioux game. That's the 3 seed North Fayette Valley versus West Sioux. Wes, you were at that game.
Yeah.
The winner of that game will play Regina. So tell us a little bit about what happened.
Yeah, so right out the gate, you could see that West Sioux was going to play a creative style. They lined up in a 4-3-3, and they wanted to get 1v1s as much as possible. They wanted to get the ball wide and really just do 1v1s and see what happened. They got a lot of fouls near the box and tried to work off of those, but it just really wasn't too successful for them. And on the other side, North Fayette, they played a 4-4-2, and they have really talented and hungry strikers, I thought, up top. Their guy, number 9, I believe his name's Lincoln, he is really hungry for the ball. He demanded the ball anytime it got in the final third, asking for service. Just a ball hunter, really. And they got 2 in the first half and basically just held on from there.
All right, so final score was
2-1.
2-1 to Fayette.
Yep.
All right, so we'll have Fayette squaring off against Regina in the semifinal. That's Friday, May 31st, 7 o'clock at Drake. Okay, let's go to the top half of the bracket. We had seed 4 Western Christian taking on West Liberty, who was seed 5. That was quite the game. Ended up going in overtime. Damo?
Yeah, so it was a good game. It's kind of like if you watched, did anyone else see the game? Yeah. Bits and pieces? Like when you're looking at the two teams, it's like almost polar opposites. I mean, like West Liberty, like stature-wise, not the biggest kids in the world, and so you're kind of looking at it and you're going like, wow, this game could whatever. West Liberty goes up 1.
Well, the first at PK, right?
Yeah, they go up. Fans go crazy too, by the way. Fans of the tournament, they have their own Sally music. I thought that was cool. Yeah, right. And then obviously an equalizer comes in like fairly quickly afterwards. And then we get into just nitty gritty as the game's getting in sort of late in the second half. There's a penalty called, which I thought was, I don't really want to, you guys are a big controversy guys. It could have been a bit controversial. I don't know that it was a penalty. I thought that was a clean tackle. I think there was a bit of the guy after the tackle, but I thought the initial contact by the defender was clean. But as they say, ball doesn't lie. I thought a fairly well placed penalty, low. Don't know that it was hard enough. Goalkeeper went the right way, so good save. And then obviously going into the extra time, the overtime periods, kind of a frantic moment for the game-winning goal. West Liberty gets it. Goalkeeper had a chance to come out and get it. Didn't quite get it. Maybe a little bit of contact. Ball comes out, and it's just a smash finish.
Yeah, he hammered it.
Yeah,
I mean,
just probably from about the penalty spot.
Yeah, the celebration broke
Again,
out, man. It was
Sally
fun.
on the field, tournament officials were going crazy.
Not
It was
happy,
good, man.
were
I
they?
loved
Yeah.
it, man. It was great.
Yes.
I love the celebration too. That's I think that's one of the most passionate crowds we've seen so far, definitely. Which for me, the quarterfinal day here on the boys' side and the girls' side too, it's the best day in Iowa high school soccer by far, just because you get those types of celebrations in those moments. So that was pretty awesome. All right, last game of the 4, we had West Branch, the number 1 seed, 18-0 going into the season. I think out of the whole tournament, I don't know if there's another undefeated program that I've seen or that I can recall anyway. They were taking on the Van Meter Bulldogs, number 8, and coming into Van Meter is coming into their first ever state tournament appearance, only year 4. So on paper, it looked like West Branch should roll Van Meter, but it was anything but that. In fact, in the first 10 minutes, I watched that game. In the first 10 minutes, I think I was sitting next to Damo, and it was like, I think that this feels like it should be flipped. I mean, it felt like Van Meter was the 1 seed and West Branch was the 8 seed, and the first goal I thought was a little bit questionable, only because I didn't think it was necessarily a penalty. I thought it was a little harsh. With that said,
the ricochet handball, yeah.
The ball kind of comes in and it hits off the player's probably ankle bone and just pops up. And for me, his hand wasn't really in that bit of an unnatural position, and so it looked a little harsh. But that said, I mean, you have a poor piece of technique and you don't control the ball, stuff like that happens. So in any case, though, I don't think it made a difference in the game. I mean, Van Meter was always going to win that game for me, and they look to me like they've got the pieces to potentially win it all. So that 8 seed to me is incredibly misleading, because they're one of the better teams that I've seen out here actually so far today, only because I think they put the ball on the floor, they try and play a little bit. They might not have everybody in that team that's super technical, but they all try to play, and they're organized too. And so I think they've got something going there at Van Meter. I also think they've got some great spirit and great cohesion in that team. It just feels like those guys are gelling at the right moment. So I know I'll be watching them closely in the semifinal and the final, and we'll see what they can do.
Yeah, maybe a player to keep an eye on too, just as a sophomore, Henry Lounsbury, who was the number 7.
Yeah, I liked him too.
He was good.
You know, and he was the one too. You know, we could argue the penalty call, but that was on a good recognition, I thought, of him to recognize that they were able to play that ball short off the corner kick. It came back to him. He played a dangerous ball into the box. Things happen when you do that. And so, and then the third goal that he scored was class.
Yeah.
I mean, you commented about his first touch, being able to control the ball, set himself up, and just to be able to place that through the screen, low, hard, far post side, and that was a great goal.
Yeah, it was, as I recall it, the ball it was driven in almost like in between his waist and his knee, and he just adjusts his body, takes the ball down on the ground, and plays it back in. Then I think it comes back into him, and he kind of does a half turn. And then, like you said, there's a screen in front of the goalkeeper, and he just curls it with the side of his foot into the far post corner. It was one of those goals that, if you're close enough, and we were close enough, you can hear it kind of glance off the post and just curl into the net. It's got that kind of cool sound of the goal, the ball hitting the back of the net. So I really like him too. If teams are watching this against him, I mean, watch out for 7. I like 7. I like 10. 11 had a great header for the second goal too. So
yeah, that was good. And again, I think that was actually he takes the corners as well. So was that off a corner kick? Was that off? That was a dead ball. That was just yeah. So Henry might have been the one playing that ball in as well.
Yeah, well, that's right. Well, we were sitting. The three of us were actually sitting next to each other, and Dan actually pointed out the West Branch wide player was all the way up at the halfway line, and Van Meter had a free kick just outside the 18-yard box on the far edge, and they were one man down. And Rothert literally said, that guy needs to get here because number 11 is unmarked.
They were just chilling.
And 30 seconds later, beautiful ball crossed in, and he takes the header and puts it back where it came from into the corner. So pretty awesome goal, but also some spotty defending.
And just for extra reference for the people that weren't here, the set piece was taken in the half space on the far side, and then the opposite player that we're talking about was the number 11. So I know you guys are big on half space and number systems, so I just want to make sure I threw that in there.
This is a whole new language I need to learn, Damo. So 6, 8, 10.
Yeah.
I was when I say 7, I'm talking about the number on the back of his shirt. Is that what you're talking about?
No, it was the 7 who was playing. I actually think he was playing the 7. I think Henry plays 7 and wears 7. But the kid you were talking about that wasn't defending was playing 11 for the other team and wearing some other number.
All right, now my head's spinning. So, well, anyway, so we got Van Meter will then take on who's that? Who do we say? West Liberty, and then Friday at 4:00 at Drake to see who meets in the final on Saturday. How does bracket usually end these things? Good stuff, guys.
What's our prediction?
Oh, the prediction. Okay, that's right. I don't know who you guys got, Van Meter or West Liberty.
I like Van Meter, man. I think if they could play the way they did in the first half and be committed to playing, that style, I think they'll be, because then they've got a good amount of athleticism and physicality as well that I think will take over the West Liberty team.
Got it. I like Van Meter too. I'm actually rooting for Van Meter too. I'm just not gonna hide my bias.
Public.
I really like that team. I like the story. I like the coaches, and so I'm hoping they win it all. All right, bottom half of the bracket, we got Regina versus North Fayette.
Yeah,
Who you got, Wes?
I like
Dan?
Regina, but I will say that the Asherman kid is, I think you said it, Wes, like he hunts the ball, man.
Yeah.
And like, I think he could create some individual efforts or get on the end of a ball and make that game really interesting.
Yeah, anytime that he got the ball or was near the ball, it was a threat. Basically, their whole game plan was get the ball near him, and he's going to get to it.
Yeah, he's got 30 goals,
And,
so
yeah.
he's legit.
I just think I'm leaning towards Regina just because how disciplined they were and the goals they scored. They had a couple different ways of scoring, and it seemed like they were organized enough, and I just have a feeling that they may come in with a game plan to, man mark him as disciplined as they are.
All righty. Well, that'll do it for the Class 1A recap. Again, those guys are square off on Friday, May 31st at Drake at 4 and 7 o'clock. So we'll see them there then.
All right, good evening. We just got done taking in a very exciting 4A quarterfinal matchup here at the Boys State Soccer Tournament. I'm Ben Brackett. I'm alongside Matt Sahag, the Titan tactician. Next to him is Weston McPhee, Lincoln Boys assistant, and he's also a UFA coach. And then we've got Johnston Dragon alum Blake Siebers and Soccer Talk regular co-host. Siebes, what's going on?
I'm thrilled, man. I'm a little chilly, to be honest, but I am thrilled. It's what'll be a day to be a drag and roll drags.
All right, well, let's start there. You've got a big smile on your face, but it was not looking so good for your Dragons there for a little bit. Iowa City High seemed like they may have had your number a bit.
Well, I mean, Johnston went up 1-0.
Okay,
But
and then?
I don't know. The first 30 minutes was just kind of, we lost one of the guys. He finally left at the table because he had seen enough. But it just wasn't nothing was really good. It was just kind of stagnant from both sides. And honestly, I think part of the reason is the crowd. There was nobody here tonight.
Well, so I met you over there for the halftime interviews, and I was like, I walked into the stadium. I was like, where's everybody? What was the deal? Do you get any feedback on that?
I think the comment that was made was, well, you win a state title, so nobody's going to come back until
The final.
semis or the finals. Yeah,
interesting.
Which is too bad because they brought it last year. And, I mean, there were some alums there and there were some young kids and whatnot, but it just wasn't, it was bleh.
Fair enough. Talk to us quickly about the goals and how it went, and then it sounds like the winner was a nice one.
Yeah. I'm trying to think here. So, yeah, it was Johnston went up 1-0, and then City High gets kind of just like something out of nothing, plays a ball in over the top, and boy gets through, and kind of a little miscommunication maybe between the goalkeeper, center back, and ball gets put in 1-1, and it's all of a sudden it's a game, right?
Well, and old Jimbo Frizzell, not super pleased with the way things were going. Did you get any more chances to talk to him?
So they score the. Kyron Pope scores. It goes. So they actually Dragons go down.
It's all over the place.
I know,
Come on,
I'm excited, man. It was an unbelievable game. So City High goes up actually 2-1, and you want to talk about panic and not knowing what to do. The Dragons got a little bit uneasy there. So Pope scores a second. There was a little bit of I don't know what the controversy. I think it was like they're talking about the bench celebration again is what I think it was.
Yeah. Remind me to make some comments about that because I have an opinion about that.
Well, we can talk about it, right? Or you want to talk about it later?
Later.
Well, no, I mean, I just like.
Okay, now.
I'll talk.
Yeah,
I'll talk what I saw there because I came over for that goal, and I saw then the referees bring back Johnston quickly, and Jimmy was of course down there going, "Please don't get me suspended again," right? And so he's doing all he can. Like the guys are having fun, they're celebrating, and then all of a sudden we've just got this like stoppage in the game where the referees over talking to the bench, and the optics are that they're chiding Johnston for celebrating too much when, I mean, they have to celebrate that goal.
You're
right?
gonna hate the reason why it got like even a talking point.
What's the reason?
The fourth official decides to be part of the game and make a point of it.
The celebration?
Yeah.
Yeah, come on.
And like the referee, I think he's been around a while. Trent, like I thought that was one of the better games I've seen. So well done to him. But then, like the fourth official comes in and like I don't want to say it, but like
You're going to?
just like stay at the half line, like stay out of the way, stay out of the game, and like you said, man, it was for nothing.
I know we're getting to the Dowling game, but I watched 2 crowd stand clearing celebrations in the Dowling game. And so the stands are obviously on this side, right? And the Dowling players, rightfully so, they ran away from the crowd all the way to the corner flag. And the fans left the stands and sprinted all the way down the end line and met them in a hog pile, and the far
Is it
corner
a hog pile or a dog pile?
Dog pile, whatever it's called. It looked like a bunch of hogs barreling down.
We're not on a Blitz farm here.
It was like a stampede, right? And so it put Johnston's celebration to shame, quite frankly, from last year. But it was a lot of fun, right? But I'm just saying, when you compare the two,
the consistency isn't there.
It's
I
so
think is what we're
harmless.
saying. Yeah.
Well, what about West Liberty scoring, right? We talked about it a little bit. Like, fans running on the field.
Yeah.
Music going. Like, they brought their own jukebox. It was awesome.
It looked like they had like a smoke bomb even.
Yeah. So I know so clearly, to me, though, this shows Johnston's got, like, a target on their back from everybody to say, hey, coach, or I don't know, I mean, is Stork the coach now for Zell? I don't know, but the coaches can't control their bench. So
their bench. No. I always pick against Johnson. I realize that, but their bench is just fine. Those guys. I don't think I saw a player misbehave all day today, right? In all the classes.
Yeah.
And the celebrations, please continue to celebrate. If anything, I think you guys need a little more practice in some of your celebrations.
Yeah, I would like to see
They're
some
a
more
little timid,
coordination.
right?
Well, it's easy, right? You just run to the corner and you get your crowd in there. Like, do something a little more creative.
Yeah,
but when they've done
think
the
about
little camera films, though, it's been like they've been a little timid. So if you're going to do that, I mean, sell it a little bit.
You brought up that they went to the opposite corner of the fans. I wonder if that was coached to them or told to them, hey, let's do this so we don't get in trouble if the fans, maybe that was talked about.
It could have been. It could. I mean,
because even in Assistant Lincoln, we were talking about crowd control and stuff like that, like those type of things. So I wonder if it's coached to the kids about celebrating, like, hey, if you're gonna do it, great, make sure we do it in a certain way. Or
the next coaching point is just go celebrate in the center circle.
Yeah, there you go.
That's where you have to run.
Well, no,
so
let's
AJ Clocho, real quick, I'll wrap it up. Scores the winner, second overtime for the golden goal, and again, you can imagine
pandemonium.
It was great. It was awesome, and they scored right in front of their bench from that half of the field, and old Jimbo Frizzell clearly has learned his lesson because all I heard was get back to the bench, get off the field, very sternly.
He's become an expert at crowd control in a short space of time.
Classes in sportsmanship he took, I'm glad he actually took those seriously.
Well, let's since we were talking about the Dowling Ankeny game, let's just jump to the bottom end of the bracket before we deal with the middle of the bracket here. Dowling Catholic, the number 2 seed against Ankeny. I think the popular opinion would be Dowling probably makes this an easy game for themselves, but the reality was the Hawks were here for it. Pretty strong team. We got a great player in Landon Benj. What'd you think there, Matthew?
Yeah, so Landon Benj, I don't know.
I don't think we've seen a striker like that in a while. I liked it.
That's going to be a kid that scores lots of goals at the collegiate level. I've heard maybe he's a junior. I don't know if he's a senior or not, but
He's a junior.
He's a junior, so I don't know. I don't think there's a college coach out here tonight that wasn't jotting his number down, actually, or name a number, unless most of the coaches here were saying that kid's going to be out of reach.
Yeah.
Right? So
the second goal he scored was like, it was one of those like, he's got two defenders and they're basically showing him to his left and he just goes, I think I'll just go right. And he just blows past him and he gives himself not a great angle, but gets his hips around it and tucks it in off the back post. It was magic.
Yeah. He's got incredible balance, and he's got an ability to use his body weight, right, and really lean in. A couple times he leaned into Foth, who's a big, strong boy, right, and just gets his center gravity low and just kind of gets around him, maintains his balance, and he's got great technique too. I think he's quite the player. He's like the Michael Nelson of the tournament, in my opinion.
Blake and I
remember that goal he scored.
I was going to say
last
Blake and I saw him play against Centennial, and it was similar in that just from a balance and bouncing off players and anticipating where the ball's going to go and just reading the game. He was. It's next level stuff, right, Siebes?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So let's talk about Dowling now.
Yeah, I think they're just a complete team, minus one player, obviously. I saw them early in the season when they were at full strength or close to it, with Mendez anyway. They did miss Mendez tonight. They clearly missed Mendez,
sure.
right? And I think
you can't not miss a player like that.
Yeah, I think Abarca misses Mendez more than anyone, just because he frees up Mendez. If Mendez is playing, he frees up Abarca, right, to play a little bit. So that's not to say that Abarca had a bad game. He had a great game. But just when you take a player of that caliber out of midfield, both Gradell, I think, and Abarca just have a much a greater job than they did with Mendez in the game.
Well,
top
I think
players
that's a big
difference.
Top players like that love to look for each other all game, and so it's just taking an option away from Henry all game. Right?
Yeah, definitely. So I will say, great composure by Dowling, because
up against it
in this environment, momentum swings are huge, right? And so they go down 1-0 and they had the run of play. They actually hit the post early in the game.
Yep.
It's like Dowling looks like the better, stronger side, and then they go down 1-0 and then they get the equalizer. Then they go down 2-1 and it's still 2-1 with 10 minutes left or so when they actually equalize. And then obviously they get the goal ahead and win the game 3-2. But I think it shows just great composure for those guys sticking with it and staying in the game. And it really felt to me like they were always going to win the game, even they were. I always felt like there was more goals in the game. And that last goal, I think it's probably goal of the year that I've seen anyway. Just the build up and then the play.
Finish the run, all the good stuff.
Go check out the YouTube footage and watch it back if you're listening to the pod. But I'll just explain it very briefly. The ball gets played in probably from the center back or the right back into midfield. The central midfielder receives it, but just takes it behind his front leg and kind of flicks it on. So sets it behind him with the player advancing onto the ball. Then I think that's Gradell. Gradell then takes it with his right foot, plays it outside of the foot, and curls it in to the next player. And then the goal scorer,
Kevin
Kopich, his run is really great, because as it goes, if I'm playing the ball this way, as it goes left, and then there's a player here, and if this is the player here, he's playing here. As the ball goes left, this player goes this way, and he just runs blind side of him and comes in around, and then the ball gets played in. The ball's played with the weight of the pass is perfect, draws the goalkeeper out, and he just slips it past him. Kopich does. So it's a goal worth watching several times, in my opinion.
I love the tactician. Here's a YouTube channel plug, but doesn't need a whiteboard anymore, does he? He's got a water bottle and his hands.
That's all he needs. And then, definitely the kind of game where I mean, you're just kind of on the edge of your seat the whole time. And we did a little interview with the boys after the game, and that Kevin Kopic, I'm sorry if I'm butchering your name, Kev, but like both him and Josiah Crowder in the middle were just being like really quiet and humble in their conversation with us. And then like you had to ask Henry Abarca to be like, well, talk your boys up a little bit, and he obviously did that. But I think it just goes to show you a little bit that mentality of the team. They're not really like a cocky team. It doesn't seem to me. It seems like they're pretty humble overall. So I think it'll be interesting. Let's just quick jump to their matchup, their next matchup. They're going to play Pleasant Valley. Weston, you took that game in. Joaquin Northwest and Pleasant Valley. We were looking at it ahead of time as like what a matchup from a coaching standpoint, because you've got Carlos Aceby, who's just a stud coach, but also like has had success in the past with the original Waukee program, and then with Northwest, and then you've got Wayne Ward out of Pleasant Valley. And Wayne, he's just like he's a little tactician himself, isn't he, Matthew?
We talked about it in the pod. It's going to be a low-scoring game. I think we said it's going to be 1-0, 2-1.
Yeah, it's a one-goal game for sure, and then he makes sure that that's the case. What'd you think, Weston? I honestly was expecting Waukee Northwest to, even though I maybe predicted Pleasant Valley, I figured Waukee would sort it out.
I was kind of thinking the same thing. I don't get to see too many teams from the other side of the state, so I wasn't too familiar with them. But I was really enjoying the battle, because it seemed like Northwest had their way with possession most of the game. They went down to start off a defensive mistake, just center back trying to clear the ball, and it lands on a forward's foot. Easy finish. But it didn't bother Northwest at all, it seemed like. They really wanted to keep possession. It seemed like it almost reminded me of like early 2000s Arsenal. They wanted to keep the ball and really squeeze everybody into the box and try to make it almost look as pretty as possible at times.
I always hate to admit that I'm an Arsenal fan, but if you're talking about early 2000s Arsenal or like mid, that's like the worst. Like that was painful to watch. They're just like passing around the box and not penetrating ever.
It was like that.
Yeah.
And even after halftime, it didn't seem like they were changing anything. It almost seemed like they didn't want to finish or didn't have
a finisher.
Yeah, they didn't really have a true finisher. Didn't seem like they acted like they wanted to finish, but they didn't really have the grit to do it.
Yeah.
They really just wanted to fill the box and swing it around the box a bunch of times and just create chaos, and maybe it'll roll into the goal. But
we had a leading into this, somebody we basically chirped us and said, hey, who do you think is going to win, blah, blah, blah. And we brought up Joaquin Northwest, and he said, they're really good, but I don't think they have like the guy that's going to be the difference maker for them. And that's basically what you're saying. So I just didn't know that it would be so obvious.
Yeah. Not saying they don't have great players. I think they have great players, a ton of talented players.
But they don't have the land and bench to just be like, dude, I'm taking the game over.
Yeah. Earlier today, we saw North Fayette with that one striker I was talking about. He had like 30-some goals, and I was like, me and Dan were like, if they're going to go anywhere, it's going to be from him, because he is a lethal guy, and every time he touches the ball, it's like, look out. The ball's coming into the goal.
Okay, so what do you think? Pleasant Valley nicks it late, right? They get the winner, and then Waukee has a chance to win it really, really late.
Yeah, they get like 3 or 4 corners in a row.
Yeah.
They're squeezing
not
the box.
Win it, but tie it, sorry.
Yeah, and I was really surprised how strong PV was about their mentality. Northwest getting upset. It seemed like some calls late could have gone the other way, and PV just really was mentally strong in the game and kept it composed and tight, really tight in the back, and really had, my opinion, the best defensive performance I've seen out here.
Weird.
That sounds about right.
Wayne Ward.
Ward.
Weird. Like that guy's the maestro.
Yeah, that's one of my to me, it's always in a tournament like this. It's making sure that your back four and your defending side of the ball that's the most important thing. They say that defense wins championships, which is a super annoying thing that people say, but it's pretty true, isn't it? Matt, what do you think when we're talking about Dowling? You talked about their mentality. compare that with Pleasant Valley, and what do you think? I mean, I guess I'll ask you both, Weston and Matt. You know, if you've got to pick Pleasant Valley or Dowling, that's going to be a tricky one. I think it's a tough matchup for both teams.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen Pleasant Valley, so that's a tough pick for me. I've felt like, and kind of like, you know, Wes said, I don't know a lot about the Eastern teams on the east side of the state, so it's tough. I mean, on one hand, you've got Pleasant Valley, who has won 2 state titles, right, in the last 3 years.
Yep.
And so to pick for me against Pleasant Valley would be
Well, they've got the experience,
questionable
right?
decision. But I've always liked Dowling this whole year. I liked them last year. I thought last year they had the team to actually win it too. And so I just don't know. I'm gonna punt. I'll tell you tomorrow or Friday after the game.
All right, nice punt, Matt. Wes, you watched a little bit of both though too, right? I think you saw it, and you've seen Dowling play before. What's your thought?
I am really excited to see the matchup. There are definitely a lot more I call artists on the Dowling side, or more creative players, which is enjoyable to see.
So what do you call the opposite of an artist?
A soldier.
Okay, there we go. So some soldiers on Wayne's team over there at PV.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to go back to their defense because I love defensive play and their communication. Even the defensive mids and their outside mids, they're all talking to each other, communicating where the next attacker is at, and just supporting each other throughout the whole game. Even all the possession they didn't have, it was amazing to watch.
So we've got a toss-up is what I'm
Wayne
hearing.
has found a new favorite kick it forward boy.
I know, Wayne's going to be like, I really like
Wes.
this Weston guy. He's okay.
Wayne's gonna love you, Wes.
It wasn't a ton of goals, but I really liked how they just grinded it out, and they were just mentally tough, and it was great.
It's going to be a great matchup on Friday.
Don't let Weston off the hook, though.
No, he's definitely picking PV. Yeah. Oh no, he's he's waffling.
Maybe
I think it's because I've seen Dowling do it so many times, and I have a closer eye on Dowling because I'm
You're
in
here
the
in Des
central
Moines,
part of the state.
Sure.
So,
Wes
I'm
is
picking,
I'm
you're looking for
PV.
answers.
I'm picking PV.
I was gonna say Wes isn't punting and he's picking PV.
Yeah,
I love it.
That's what I'm doing.
Good stuff, Wes. I love it.
All right, Brackett. Let's get to your game.
Yeah, just a quick one here.
Your Tigers.
Yeah. My Tigers did as I predicted. Came out a little flat. Iowa City West banged 2 in quick penalty, and then
That's an understatement. It was more than quick.
Yeah, I mean it was. I honestly looked over when Valley scored 10 minutes into the game, and it said 2-0, and I was like, wait. I didn't even hear Iowa City West score the 2 goals they scored, and then I look over and it's 2-1, and Valley's trying to scrape themselves back into the game. And even when they scored, it didn't sound like they felt like they were back in the game. It sounded muted.
So Sheffy, somebody chime in because we heard the roar at 1-0, but the scoreboard said 40.
Yeah.
So something happened.
I think they must not have started
Something,
the time.
yeah. I'm just more curious.
No, fair enough.
Didn't catch it, so somebody let us know.
Well, regardless, I mean, I think now I saw Iowa City West in the winter at an indoor event that we hosted.
Event was that, Ben?
It was called the Winter Wonderland. We hosted it. It was a great little event, and Iowa City West came down, and I mean, I really liked watching them play, and they were all together. The coaches, came downtown. I mean, it was cool. And
This is good.
Yeah, and Daniel Fuentes, strong player, but they've got players all over the field, and they play soccer. And I think the thing that's, to me, the difference when you watch like the Valley and the Iowa City West team is it seems like Brad Stiles has everybody on the same page, and he's trying to affect the game by moving players around and by coming up with a game plan. And I didn't see a game plan from my Tigers. And I guess that's probably all. I mean, so maybe there was and they didn't execute. I don't know. I guess we'll never know unless we talk to old Z and Dreyer and the rest. But I think what it does is it sets us up for a heck of a Friday state final rematch from last year, Iowa City West and Johnston. And then they also played recently, went to double overtime, and Johnston nicked it 1-0. So I'm guessing Iowa City West is going to be pretty fired up for that game, and Johnston, we know they're always fired up, right? Because Jimmy's their coach. I'm gonna go pick Iowa City West just to rile up the old Drags, and because they dismantled my Tigers, so I got to be on their side. And Brad Stiles, former Tiger, Let's go. Siebes, what do you think? Drags? Trojans?
It's real drags all the way. However,
I think they're in for a challenge.
they're banged up. Like, fully healthy, fully fit, no question. But
There's always a qualifier with his prediction.
How long
qualifier.
have they been banged up?
All year, man.
yeah, they've been banged up even before the year started. So, and they've been continuing
That
to do
is
it.
true. I mean, we saw how banged up. I mean,
Yeah, they literally had one of their
Mateo's,
injured. Yeah.
on crutches. Like
And they got a
that's-
couple boys that
That's a massive loss.
yeah, well, aren't even on the squad or however you want to say.
Yeah,
it.
they're injured all year. Yeah,
so
sure.
like, and I don't even know if Pope's not. I don't think he was 100.
He's definitely
no,
not
he's
100%.
from what I saw. It just, I mean, this is a big talking point too, right? We're going to the turf. I don't know how it's going to affect it.
Well, and if you're talking, gosh, that's interesting too, because some of those injuries, like certain injuries, are easier to deal with on the grass, and certain injuries are easier to deal with on the turf. And I don't think that the injuries that Johnson's carrying really help them when they're on the turf, in my opinion.
I think though, I think they would admit.
But they're
it.
used to playing on the turf,
But
so
they weren't very good tonight. So like
That's
they
fair.
can only get better. And Storky's going to have those boys fired up, ready to go.
So we're gonna have it's wide open right now, is what I'm hearing. I think Johnston, Iowa City West is going to be a great game. I think Pleasant Valley and Dowling.
I feel like I got to make a prediction.
Oh,
on
I know.
this-
Yeah,
this-
I mean,
this
we know
game
where this
here.
is going to
Yeah.
go, but publicize it.
Well, here's the thing, though. We just did the interview with the guys, and they told me to my face that I'm always wrong. So now I'm conflicted about how I want to predict.
Well, you want me to go? I'll go
No.
first.
I'm
No,
just
you
conflicted.
said Pleasant Valley
Making
first,
a point
so
here
you're
because
sticking with that.
if I pick the drags, they're saying I'm always wrong.
Uh-oh.
So anyway, no, I'm picking West. Let's go Styles. Let's go Sheffy.
So we're
Wes, what are you
thinking we got
picking?
ourselves
I'm picking West.
Oh.
I'm
All
picking
right,
West.
boys. I'm
And
alone.
so then who
alone.
comes? So is it West against
man.
who in the final?
PV.
Ooh, an all Eastern final here in Central
The
Iowa.
lowest attended final ever. Unfortunately.
We'll have to see about that.
Well, maybe they'll bring it back to county then.
There you go.
Oh.
Well, let's. I just think these are all nice little predictions to end on. Thank you, gentlemen, for your thoughts and your time today. And we'll see you tomorrow with the girls, and then we'll see you again on Friday for the boys, and Saturday again. Let's go. Thanks, guys.